Yeah. You will tell us, what happens if I do not renew my national ID? Do I assume a different nationality or I'm stateless legally? The other thing that we want to hear from you is, why do we continue hearing cases of forged national IDs and NINs, and they are used anyway? Used anyway. I would not ask you any question if somebody simply got a national ID from some street which is notorious and flags it around. I had a personal experience of somebody who was defrauding people in my name. I reported the matter to police and asked them to investigate. When they investigated, because he had the telephone number he was flagging around, and they said that this person had picked a national ID, had picked a SIM card using a forged NIN. That was the finding of the police. I was surprised, actually shocked. I would understand if he used Okeyo's NIN. But, if he got it and he was not using it officially. But how somebody could go to the extent of getting a SIM card using a forged NIN was shocking, because I know that this is something we had eliminated. So, you have any preliminary remarks that you would want to share with us, Rosemary? And you have since suspended the issuance of national IDs in a significant number of foreign missions. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
Okay.
We are still issuing. Okay. Yeah, we continue to issue.
And with the decentralization?
We are in 112 districts.
Okay.
But the profile of our districts is 135 with 11 cities. So it means that we're not in some districts and also not in some cities.
Okay. And what are your plans with respect to those ones where you have not spread your services?
Well, we have tried to advocate for budget for the 24 districts. To no avail, actually, this year. Our budget was cut by 13 billion. So we will work within the confines of the resources made available to try and reach those districts. Thank you.
But are you in close range with to those districts? For example, if you are not in Mityana, you could be in Wachiso, and those people could access from Wachiso, and so on and so forth. Have you mapped out your services in such a way that if someone is not able to access from Chiankwanzi, he can access from Chiboga?
It is in some places so. However, in some places in northeastern and northwestern Uganda, there are some districts that are quite close to each other. There's a bulk of districts that are not, where we are not present, that are quite, I'll give an example of Obongi, I think another neighboring, I think Maracha, one of them, Terego. It's not, they're next to each other. So hopefully we would have been in Terego and not in Obongi. If I give an example of Nabila Tuk, Karenga, which are quite apart, Kalaki, Kapelibong, Byong, we're in some of those areas. They are quite a distance apart from our nearest service points. And people have to travel between 80 to 100 kilometers to access the nearest service.
Like, what is your budget for those particular activities? For those particular districts, if you were to cover them?
The initial budget for the first year, because we'd be buying equipment and chairs, would come to close to 6.7 billion. And then subsequently, that budget would go down because of, we remain with our recurrent expenditures. Yes, sir.
How difficult is it for your staff in those districts to where you have not spread your services, to say 1 or 2 days a week, your officer from District X will visit District Y.
The highest number of people in a district are 2 or 3. So in at least 600 to 1,000 people a day. In peri-urban areas, we serve 200 to 300 people. And in rural, pure rural areas, we serve 60 to 150. So it still wouldn't be viable for one person to serve those people.
To serve 2 districts?
Yes.
And especially in areas that are prone to some form of insecurity, like in the Karamoja area. That's why it's not possible. Actually,
yes, sir.
Technically not possible. Colleagues, do you have any preliminary questions?
Process that actually NIIRA needs to be empowered in terms of budget for them to facilitate and fast track identification of persons in Uganda. But specifically, I wanted to inquire from the ED, why is it in some instances that one NIN number is owned by 2 or 3 people? Then secondly, we know how important it is that a national ID will be necessary for our civic activities. How prepared are you that we can beat the deadline for mass enrollment in preparation for the registration and final elections? Thank you, Chair.
Issuing national ID, you will be collaborating. But in most cases, I've got the ID, and I want to apply for the passport. I got the same process of asking me the grand and grandfathers, the mother, the what, whose information was subjected to you. What causes that? Aren't you working together?
And they work together when they are different. Besides, supposing you lied in the first place, and they want to trace the kind of person you are. Actually, you will find some people with national IDs, and they fail to get passports on account of who they are. Honorable Nangoli?
In one day. But to your attention and to the attention of the ED is that there are Ugandans, ordinary Ugandans down there.
Yes.
Including some of us. You go apply for the national ID, and it takes 3 to 6 months for you to get, be it a replacement or a new ID. I have people in Vulambuli district. I come from Vulambuli and I represent the people of Elgon North, who have traveled all the way from Vulambuli to Kampala to come and have their biodata captured once again. And when they go to Vulambuli, they tell them, you can only be helped from Kololo. When they come to Kololo, you know what it is there in Kololo. The line alone, it will take, you have to be there by 6 a.m. in the morning. So, Honorable Chair, to the ED is that you need to throw more light there, give us some update, current update. How are you handling such scenarios for people? Why should people wait for a national ID 3 to 6 months, even more? And yet when you go to driving where they what, of course I know at the start you have had challenges, but by now you would be at a proper line how to issue national IDs.
Well captured.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Will you ask him?
The Chairman, thank you very much. We call you Road Chairman. Good morning. I associate myself with what Honorable Nangoli is saying, that they should tell us about their structure. Can I get an ID, a national ID in each Soro without coming to Kampala? Because there are many people who have suffered.
You see, once you come from Chisoro, you know what Chisoro means.
The Republic, yes.
people will think you do not deserve to get a national ID because the national
they
ID
can also tell us those who
are for
deserve
human
and those
beings.
who don't deserve. I thank you.
Okay, national IDs are for human beings, not for Bisoro. But he said, yes, Honorable Kwizera comes from Buchimbiri, is hiding under the animals. Yes, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Madam E.T., we have so many Ugandans, ladies who are working in saloons, and then gentlemen who are in construction, like a cement, destroy their fingerprints, and those people cannot access national IDs. Yes, for those men who are in construction, that cement. Yes, and those who are...
I told you I had a challenge with mine at some point. Those machines rejected my thumbprint.
Exactly. So, Madam Idi, how are you trying to help out these people? Because I have so many in Nakaseke, and they will need us to intervene. And how could we help them? These ladies, these cosmetics, destroy their fingerprints, and in the name of accessing public services, medication, and so many other public services in that line.
Before they answer, that's the first phase you tried to answer for them. I wanted them to answer. You indicated that those who are in charge of giving passports are more strict and perfect, and there are loopholes in those ones giving the ID. That's why you may have forgery IDs and you fail to get the passports. Could you tell us where are the loopholes? Where do you find the problem? Why don't you behave also like those ones of the passports so that you avoid non-citizens and other people duplicating your performance?
Thank you, Chair, for your kindness. ED, that taking into account where your headquarters are, I wanted to know from you, does it impact on your output? Where you are housed and vis-a-vis what you are supposed to do? Does it impact on it? Because we see the place, ceremonies, occasions, working 2 days a week, the rest of the days. Does it have any impact on your output finally?
You know, when the Vice Chair talked about those people who are digging, called gate recognition, I think that should be the way for us to go. By people, by their walking patterns, you would be in a position to know this is Alan Mayanja. Yeah, it's a technology, so maybe NIIRA should also invest in such that you walk and they will be able to capture you. I don't know if the people using those machines would have to now reorient their machines to tell you, you walk to Labitambula Mungo Muganda. Then we would be able to recognize that you are the one. Yes, but I did ask a question to Winnie on one. During that time when I do not have a national ID, what nationality am I? Two, and why do you have to limit to be periodic? That for you to give me my national ID, I should have it for this period of time. Why would it expire? I mean, please tell us. And I want to start with you on that, Winnie.
Nature of its mandate subscribes to the ICAO standards. ICAO standards, yes. Section 5.2 of the Registration of Persons Act obliges NIIRA to observe the specific industry or professional rules and regulations, and ICAO standards are one of those. Specifically, paragraph 2.2 of the ICAO standard document 9303.
Which you will share with us.
Yes.
Yes.
It recommends a maximum period for a national ID of 10 years. And actually goes ahead to advise states that they can even give a shorter period because of the fact that technology evolves. Now, under Regulation 19, the government of Uganda went ahead to adopt the maximum period, which is 10 years. That is the maximum recommended period. So that is the reason why we renew IDs. And the major reasons given by the ICAO standard is because of the wear and tear of the materials that are used to make the national ID, and also the changing facial features of the card holder and the biometrics.
Yes. I didn't want to interfere with your explanation, but I wanted you to assume that you were
Actually, tell your mother it's not a cow.
No, no, no. Is it after 10 years that somebody's features have changed, so you go with the modern features? Bring that language so that we can know what to tell our people.
Okay, I apologize. The reason simply is biometric features they wear out with time. So the maximum period that is given by the industry experts is 10 years. Yes.
As to whether I cease to be a nation,
yes.
What is the effect of the expiry?
The second question, sir, was that if I do not renew my ID, do I become stateless or do I lose my citizenship? Uganda is a party to the Convention on Reduction of Statelessness. I know that one, somebody in Chana Mkanka would not understand that. But our law provides that the expression of a national ID does not take away citizenship. It does not mean that your citizenship will expire. The citizenship of a person, in far as identification is concerned, is hinged on the NIN that is assigned to the individual, not the national ID. So somebody does not become stateless because of an expiration of an ID.
Okay.
The third question, sir, was on fraudulent IDs.
On?
And why are there so many cards that are forged?
Yes.
Yes. From your explanation, I wanted to just answer giving an example. You know that when we are accessing certain premises, including Parliament, we put our IDs at the entrance. So people take advantage of that and take pictures of people's IDs. So if I am a person who intends to forge an ID to access something, I will take a picture of Winnie's card, maybe at an entrance somewhere of a workshop or something. I will take it to wherever I take it, and I will make an ID, but with Winnie's NIN number. So I will forge using Winnie's card. Somebody can easily forge using your personal card when they access it somewhere. So when they go to access a service, the NIN is actually valid. That notwithstanding, we are dealing with forgeries because the law permits us to prosecute under Section 76.
No, that one to me is understandable to the extent that I can on my photo and be able to say if you're coming to Parliament, the police officer will look at the ID and think this is murder. Because it has my photo, it has a NIN and everything. But the question is where somebody goes to the extent of securing a SIM card.
Chair, if you will allow me to explain that scenario. NIIRA issues a letter called a confirmation of information letter, whereby someone accesses online, enters their NIN, and it returns the credentials of the person. So we observed from the telecoms, and
if I get my smartphone and I get your two names and your telephone number, and I want to install it again, it will tell me it is already there, isn't it? If you have a smartphone, it will not do it the second time. Personally, I've got two IDs. When you are starting the exercise, you started with the MPs. The IDs you gave us, after some time, you said we are doing it afresh. You gave us another one. So I opted going with the latest. But the other one is also there. Why couldn't your computers or system reject and say, no, this one has already got?
Honorable, if you will allow me, I request for some time to explain the process so that probably we can see if it's satisfactory, then we can interrogate it further. A national ID begins with LC1. The local council.
Could you listen to the witness, please?
1. The local council 1 receives and certifies that a person is either a resident of that area or originates from that area. The person then proceeds to the district internal security officer or the Gombolela internal security officer. Once more, that person validates that the person is a resident of that area. They then arrive at NIIRA and they fill Form 3, which has 148 areas to respond to. And in that form, because they are citizens usually by birth, they provide us with information of their next of kin, being either father, mother, grandparents on the mother's side, and grandparents on the father's side, to submit their application. Their fingerprints are taken and their biographic information is captured. The fundamental uniqueness of NIIRA's system is in the biometrics. The first ID you spoke of was issued in 2010 in a project that didn't take off. And this house interrogated that process, and the 2013-14 process took over from that process. Thank you. And even then, you would not be able to use it. So, the biometrics taken we call them 13 biometrics, or 12. We take your face, and we take your 10 fingerprints, if you have them. The 10 fingerprints, sometimes people, all 10 don't work. But we try to work with a minimum of 6. If all 10 fail, we pick the 6 strongest fingerprints. At the back of your ID is placed your strongest fingerprint, the one that gave us the best grooves. We have 1 million people on the register who did not satisfy fingerprints. And for those ones, the biometric used for their identification is their face. So, you may not have fingerprints, but you have a face. There's nobody who doesn't have a face. In addition, in the new exercise, we are going to add the iris as another biometric feature to support, in the event that you don't have fingerprints, probably your iris will give us a good biometric. In the worst case event that you have neither iris and fingerprints, your face will suffice as a means.
And what is the effect of those rays in my iris?
Those rays, we experience them almost every day, but there's no recorded significant impact on. It's just like a camera, but it's not that close. Actually, it more magnifies to take the print than insert rays. So, still on the issue of the name, why do we have scenarios whereby one person has 2 names? We have had people, and they are very few and far between, who in one ID, they say, I have no fingerprints. But in another ID, they use their fingerprints. That is why we are now insisting that, okay, let's take an additional biometric. And I will use that opportunity to answer the question around passports. The reason passports ask you information, again, is data around the world is cleaned by use. When you use data, when you go to the bank and say my mother is Namatovu, you go to another one, you say my mother is Kakara. You go to another one, you say my mother is Kisembo. The triangulation of that information, the bringing together of that information is what begins to flag to us that there is, this person may not be who they say they are. So yes, we have an integration with DCIC. They are able to extract our data. And when you submit your form, they extract our data and compare with what you have written. And many times, people's mothers have changed, people's fathers have changed, their tribes have changed.
Fathers change.
Okay, it is a possibility.
And that one, you ladies are responsible for the change.
Okay, so in essence, we have seen information. When they retrieve the information, they have a connection with us. They retrieve all your formats that you gave it to them. There is a dichotomy. And it's that difference that flags that this person needs to give us further and better information concerning who they are.
Because at least I know people whose age has changed. Date of birth has changed.
That is true.
I also know people whose fathers have changed.
That is true.
I'm yet to come across one whose mother changed.
Even mothers change. I experienced it first in NIIRA. So the collaboration with DCIC and NIIRA does exist. And it is that continuous use of information in the question of how are we omitting the loopholes. But furthermore, in the next system, we are also allowing ways of verifying the ID without staying with it. We are trying to create short codes, star codes, whereby you can verify the information on the ID without clinging to it. Because it's when people cling to it that it is usually abused. I also respond to the question of time taken. Why does it take a long time? Why does Honorable Segona take 1 day and some people take 3 to 6 months? Sorry, sir? No, not at all, sir. So, in essence, the time taken, as I started out this discourse, I mentioned that NIIRA is government's child who is sometimes constrained in resources, and I'll give an example. In 2014, government acquired 5,000 registration kits. Until this year when we shall acquire our others, which is 10 years later, there is no other laptop that was given. And I always ask people in a room if they can give me their 10-year-old phone. And I have not found a place where somebody has given me a phone that is 10 years. The printing equipment that we use, there are 4 machines. At full capacity, we are printing 25,000 cards a day. Today, they print 1,000 cards. So in essence, the throughput or the speed or the efficiency of a machine of 25,000 cards that is now printing 1,000 is not comparable. Therefore, the speed that is required must match the equipment that is present on site at NIIRA. This year, we shall get new equipment. And hopefully, that story should change to 2 to 3 days. The people to whom we are compared, and I'll use the example of driving permits, use NIIRA's data. NIIRA's register is 27 million people. I would put anyone in this country to give me a register with biometrics with 27 million people. Most people have 500,000, 2 million, 3 million. So in essence, And please note that this is the organization whereby in a district there are 2 people, but I want us to count the people where we get the data and the card in 2 minutes. So I think we need to consider the technology, the people challenges that the organization faces in regard to its service delivery. That said, this year government has provided for us acquiring a new system. Parliament appropriated in December 18th, 2023, 208 billion shillings for a new system. Then, I think I've answered the question of destroyed fingerprints. We shall use your face, and we are adding another biometric, which is the iris. There was a question on gait recognition. It is true, gait recognition is one of the features that can be used in terms of biometrics. But some of this, I'll give you an example of gait. There's retina, there's palm. Some of them, the cost of the technology first surpasses what we can afford. But furthermore, for those who don't walk, they would be constrained by that technology. Then there was a question on level of preparation. Right now, as I speak, we are 3 months behind our projections for beginning of mass enrollment. We are supposed to begin the enrollment process on June 1st. We hope to start by the end of July or beginning of August. We had several delays. One of them was the money. So they've been overcome, and we're in the final stages of beginning the process. There was a question also on headquarters of NIIRA and output on days of ceremonies. Headquarters of NIIRA is Kololo and Independence Grounds, but the grounds are owned by, I think, Ministry of Defense. So we are tenants, or they're caretakers, I don't know.
No, I think they were taken over by, is it State House or President's Office? They are not owned, they were just taken over.
Okay. Okay, we pay rent to the Ministry of Defense. So
we pay rent to Defense.
So I assume those are the owners.
And sometimes they are disrupted when there are other occasions.
Yes, it is true.
Of the landlord. What is your plan of having your own premises where you are not inconvenienced every now and then?
That secret lies with this house.
No.
The appropriation of funds
we
for the
don't think for you.
No, we have applied for the last 4 years for a NIIRA home. And it is an unfunded priority in each of those years.
I actually wanted that to come from you so that my record captures it.
Thank you.
It's important. Okay, colleagues, I think that's all. We could now roll straight into our documents. It is noticed by the Auditor General that your performance of NTR was not satisfactory.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes?
Chair,
Vice Chair.
she hasn't clarified very well how these public functions affect their performance as the entity.
Let her locations, but the primary site is where our data center is present. So on that day, they allow a skeleton staff to access the grounds to continue running the operation of the data center. So the major impact is on those clients who are coming in on that day, who usually have come for a service or were required to pick a document that day. They are the ones who are largely impacted because In terms of the running of the outfit, they usually allow identified skeleton staff to access the grounds. Thank you.
Identified staff. All staff.
We submit the staff who will list, and then they are vetted, and then they can access the grounds.
But your guests cannot access.
Our guests cannot access. So they are the the people seeking the service are the most impacted on those days.
Okay, I think the answer is clear, it's straight, pretty straight. So you have a landlord who forces you to rent from him, but continue to inconvenience you when he has his priorities. It's something we need to take up at a different level. You know, the Ministry of Defense, represented by Mps Qn NIIRA, is the landlord, but it also allows other people, especially when they have one very important guest who does not want to share oxygen with others who are coming for a statutory service. Unfortunately, we are proceeding well. Performance of NTR, the projection, Madam, was 15 billion. You could not even raise half of that. Your answer is that the alien registration did not take off. How much had you projected from alien registration by your work plan? And we'll refer to the documents.